Hey, welcome to the latest webinar, Tools for the Time Crunch Manager. Today, the focus is on rapid fire, strategic thinking, planning, doing. And I'm going to spend some time today sharing a really good, practical, useful tool with you to really help you convert kind of big picture thinking into some really deliberate, specific actions, which you'll find useful for sure. But before I get there, I really want to be talking about just some of the core concepts around strategy, how some of them are delusional, how some of them are useful, and then what that tells you about how to think, how to plan, and how to move it into action. Right, so here we go. Just so you know, that's what I look like, because you can't see me on the video. Of course you can. Michael Senior from Box of Crayons, senior partner here, author of several books. Gosh, if you want to find more about me, you can look it all up at BOXOFCRAYONS.BIZ, B-I-Z, that's our website. And a couple of things just to point you to as free, useful resources. First is this. I'm very proud of this report, the 3 essential coaching habits for the time-crunched manager. So if you're a manager, a leader, even an individual contributor, and you want to be increasing the impact of your own coaching skills, your own leadership skills, then you'll find in this report 3 really good specific habits that you can add immediately to actually work less hard but have more impact. And secondly, a big invitation to join our LinkedIn group, Tools for the Time Crunch Manager. I think we have about 4,000 people there now. Rapid exchange of ideas, challenges, resources to help people, again, work less hard, but have more impact. So I think you'll enjoy that as well. Okay, enough of the chit chat. Let's get on to another useful webinar. And I know this is pre-recorded, so you're watching it on your own time. But I do want to ask you the same question I ask at the start of all of my webinars, and it is this. On a scale of 1 to 7, how focused do you plan to be? How focused do you plan to be? And let's just be clear about what I mean. And 1 is, basically, even though you've set this up and it's playing right now, you've got maximum distraction going on. Okay, this is what a 1 is. You've got email open, you've got your gadgets nearby turned on, you're probably texting or emailing somebody right now. You may even have some paperwork, maybe you've got a book that you're reading, who knows, but maximum distraction. 7 on the other hand, maximum focus. You've cleared the desk, you put gadgets away, you've shut down programs, you're able to bring your full attention to this short video. Now, I don't mind what number you give yourself, that choice is yours entirely, but I do want you to make a mindful choice now, and then do whatever you need to do just to kind of clear the deck so that you can show up as whatever number you gave yourself. If it's a 6, do that. If it's a 2, do that, whatever. But adjust your environment so that you're able to be present and useful in the way you want to be for this webinar. All right, strategy, or should I say strategy, because gosh, it is an abused term, isn't it? I mean, let's face it. You know, it's like if you want to make a meeting sound more important, you go, let's have a strategic retreat, okay? If you want to have a document you've written, be it read, you go, here's my strategic document. If you feel like you want to justify that donut you're going to eat, you're going to call it the strategic donut. It is a much abused, almost empty word. And quite frankly, a lot of the concepts we have around strategy are actually not that useful. I mean, one of the acronyms of the day is VUCA. That stands for volatile, uncertain, chaotic, ambiguous. And it's a description of the world we live in. It's moving fast. You're never quite sure what anything means. Everything is massively connected. Everything is global. It's very hard to actually create plans that actually live and survive in a world like this. In fact, Mike Tyson said it best. He said this: everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, okay? A little bit blunt, but I think you get the point. But even though it is a VUCA world, and even though one of the, I think, legitimate ways of thinking about in such a complex world, is it even useful to make a plan? Because, again, somebody else said, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Actually, there is some value in the power of strategic thinking. You know, Eisenhower said it a long time ago. I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. And really, one of the things, I mean, it's ironic. I'm going to show you a way of creating a plan, but truthfully, and we'll talk a bit more about this, the real power of strategy is thinking. It's not the doing so much, it's the power of thinking, and this is what Eisenhower is saying. And so to drive this power of thinking, I've got a few things to share with you, 5 questions and 4 columns, okay, and you'll understand what that means in just a sec. Let me jump to the 5 questions piece right away, and Here I'm actually bringing some more Canadian content. I'm Canadian content. I'm up here in Toronto. And I want to bring in my friend Roger Martin. Now, Roger was the Dean of Rotman Business School, which is one of the, if not the top MBA school here in Canada and top 10 in the world. He's also author of a number of great books, and I love his most recent book, and it's this. It's Playing to Win. You can see a picture of that on the left. He co-wrote that with A.G. Leffley, who is the CEO of Procter & Gamble. He's back for a second round. And it is as good a book on strategy as I know. And at the heart of this book is actually Martin and Leffley arguing that strategy is not a plan, but it's actually the essence of powerful, deliberate, courageous thinking around the 5 questions that you see here. And I'm not going to go into depth around these questions because that's not the heart of this webinar, but I think these are very useful, and to understand that these are hierarchical. You kind of start at the top, what's your winning aspiration, and where will we play? But they feed into each other, and it's when you get all 5 of the answers to these 5 questions aligned, that's where you find a really powerful strategic focus. And in the Playing to Win book, they talk about how they've done that with Procter & Gamble, and how the thinking here has been so powerful in driving the success of Procter & Gamble. And I think I just saw an article by, I think maybe HP, basically saying that they've issued this book to everybody in HP because they want to bring that same level of strategic thinking there. The other piece I love about Roger, and this is a very recent thing, I'm recording this in, April, excuse me, April 2015. And here's an article that came out online at the HBR, which is Stop Distinguishing Between Strategy and Execution. One of the arguments Roger makes is that strategy and execution, they often get separated. I had a good strategy, we just didn't execute. But Martin says, look, there's no point. If you have a strategy that's not executed well, then there's the flaws in the strategy. And he makes a really strong case in this argument that actually the thinking and the execution are just the same sides of different sides of the same coin. And if one's failing, then the other one's failed as well. And I'd encourage you to check this out online. In particular, read the comment section, because Roger basically skewers all these people who kind of complain about his perspective on this, and does a really brilliant job at it. So that's the 5 questions I wanted to share with you. And really, I think in terms of if you want to get into strategic thinking, you've got to go to those questions. But what I want to take you to is a planning tool, okay? And this is a way of just helping you kind of frame stuff that might be a bit ambiguous, might be a bit all over the place, might be too much, and make it a more focused tool. Again, it's a way of actually kind of creating a structure that will help actually frame, I think, some of the Roger Martin questions. And these are the 4 columns. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these 4 columns to life by actually sharing an example that's real and live for me at the moment. Now, I'm going to take you through this, but in a little bit, I'm going to show you where you can download a template of this 4-column planning tool, so you can grab that for yourself. Okay, so here we go. It's called the VPST model, VPST, and it'll become clear why in a moment. And the very first V here is the vision. It's what are we aiming for? Or the way I like to think about it is, what's the mountain I am planning on climbing here? Now, one of the things I like about this model is it's scalable. And what I mean by that is your vision can be very focused in terms of time and scope. It's like, in the next 3 months, I want to earn this amount of money, or I want to have this amount of impact. It can also be much bigger. It can be a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year scope, or global in its ambitions. But part of the trick here is to get pretty specific about where you're heading for. What's the peak you're climbing for? I mean, somebody once said, we're all climbing a mountain, so make sure you're climbing the right mountain. And so often we've headed up, we're making great progress climbing the wrong mountain. So let me bring this to life with you with an example that's true for me. I'm writing a book at the moment. It's actually about coaching skills for managers. So here's the here's the V column here. What's your winning aspiration and where will we play? So I'm making a link between the Martin questions here and the vision column. And we're going to build out these 4 columns next to each other. But to bring it to life for me, so you know what my vision is for my project is, I want to write and have the best known coaching book in North America. That's my vision for this book. It's bold. It scares me. Part of me goes, that's never going to happen. But part of me goes, well, what if it was going to happen? What would actually happen then? What would I need to be doing? So it both stretches and inspires and slightly terrifies me, but doesn't shut me down altogether. So that's the V side of it. Now, let's talk about the S side of it. And the S stands for strategies. What are the key levers, the key place to focus on that will help drive impact in the work that you do? And one of the disciplines that I suggest, and this tool kind of forces you to, is you have to limit the number of strategies you have. And I say limit it to 3, because part of strategy, and I'm going to show you a quote I keep by my computer, at the essence of what strategy is, and there's another webinar on this as well, is here's a focus. This is a Steve Jobs quote. Focus means saying no to the hundreds of other good ideas that are out there. And part of what this planning tool does is it forces you to make choices about where you're spending your time. And the 2 Martin questions that I think fit with this are, well, how are we going to win? And what capabilities must be in place for this? And I'm going to suggest that for strategies, if you're like, well, I don't even really know what a strategy is, I'm going to suggest there are 3 key places that you might be looking. I'm going to say there's one piece around the thing that's being created, the product. What's the stuff that needs to be worked on? And what do we need to be doing to be focusing on that? The second piece is around people. In other words, what are people-related stuff that we need to get sorted, that if we got that sorted would help us get to the vision? And the third is the process. In other words, what are the systems and structures and patterns of behavior that need to be in place that would best get us to the vision? So you're seeing that the 3 strategies are what are the 3 critical things we need to get into place that would get us to our vision. So again, let me bring that to life as my example. And I've actually got a project, a people, and a process piece here. So I want to have the best known coaching book for managers in North America. That's great. So the project piece, I have to write a damn fine book. Something really good, something that I'm proud of, but actually make people go, I love this book, I'm going to recommend it to others. So that's the project side. It's about the kind of content piece. The people piece is around getting the top 10 influencers on board. Who are the top 10 people in this world that could actually drive recommendations or credibility or testimonials to the book? And the process piece is a 6-month launch plan. So if I've set a launch date, which I have, which will be early 2016, what's the 6-month plan that will get me from nobody knowing about the book to it being the best known coaching book for managers in North America? So I've had to think hard about these 3 strategies, because there's a bunch of other things I could have put down there. I could have put down, for people, I could have trying to target bloggers or trying to build a brilliant editing team or whatever it might be. But these have taken me to kind of the 3 critical high-level areas in which I want to focus as my 3 S's that will drive me to my V. All right, so we've got vision, we've got strategies. The VSPT model, well, then the P stands for projects. So now we're getting into something much more specific. And again, the way I like to think about this are what are the critical contained area things to do that will best make the strategy come to life. And here's a way of thinking that I use in some other contexts. So some of you may have already seen me talk about this, but often when we're doing our work, it actually feels like we're mowing the lawn. And again, you can see this is a pretty good lawn. I mean, it's very green, it's very stripy. But the thing is, when you're mowing a lawn like this, it feels kind of endless. I mean, you probably had that experience where you get to the end of your year and you look back on it and go, what have I been doing? And sometimes it just feels like you've just been mowing the lawn and it's all felt a bit the same. And the power of a project is that it's much more focused and deliberate. So you can say, I'm not mowing the lawn, I'm creating an elephant. And each project kind of should feel like its own little hedge elephant, if you like. And what I mean by that is not that you actually have to go and carve a hedge into an elephant, but that a project has a start date and it has a finish date and it has some metrics. You know what success is. Perhaps you know what good work is and you know what great work is. But you've actually got these kind of clearly defined projects that you can start and finish. And what I love about projects is it makes choice that much more deliberate. You can't do 1,000 projects. You have to be thoughtful and mindful about it. So what are the projects you're going to do that will best drive the strategies you've identified, that will best take you to the vision that's going to have real impact? So let's see what I did for my stuff. And here's the visual for how the plan is building out. You can see there we're creating a line of sight, as they say, between projects through strategies to vision. And here it is for me. And look at that. I thought I'd done that and I forgot to update my slides. But the first thing I want you to notice is I actually changed my strategies. Project, I actually ended up having 2 process strategies rather than a project, a process, and a people strategy. And that's fine. Even though there are these 3 Ps, you don't have to have one of each. It's what's best for you in taking you towards the strategy. So you'll see in that second column, I changed a people strategy to another process strategy, which is actually, having thought more about it, I went, you know what, I've got to get distribution sorted because I'm self-publishing this new book coming out, which means that it's not going to naturally appear in bookstores or airport bookstores or other places in the world. So part of what I need to sort out to get my book out into the world is really great key distribution channels. So there you go, I twisted it up for you. But what I've done here is I've built out what will be some of the core projects, actually my 3 key projects for the 6-month launch plan. And one of them is going to be a Kickstarter campaign, which is great. So I can now figure out, well, what's an awesome Kickstarter campaign and how do we do that? The other is a 40 podcast book tour. So podcasts are booming at the moment. So rather than doing a book tour, I'm going to figure out how to get onto influential book tour people. And the third one is around corporate sponsorship. So how do I find ways of getting organizations engaged and involved in the launch and celebration of this book? And I could have done projects for the other ones about writing a good book, hiring an editor, setting up a writing plan, all sorts of stuff like that. But I just wanted to not overwhelm you with data about my life, but just kind of bring this model to life for you with a real example about me. So VSP, we've covered that, vision, strategy, projects. I think where that takes us to is the next piece, which is around tactics. And this is really all about getting things done. And you can see this is really about your to-do list. What are the key tactics that will fulfill the project, which will drive the strategies, which will take you to a high impact vision? And I'm not going to get into explanation around tactics because that's pretty straightforward. Tactics or tasks, as we've said there. But I want to show you now just how that template looks. And there we go. And if you want to, you can download this template so it can become a regular planning tool for you at BOXOFCRAYONS.BIZ/VSPT, Vision, Strategies, Projects, Tasks. And there it is. That's what you'll get if you go there. You'll need to sign up and stuff, but it's totally free. So let me just take you through. I think you understand the planning tool. I just want to tell you the 3 reasons why I think it works so well. And the first is this. You create that line of sight between where you are and the vision. So often in our working lives, we have a vague vision for where we're trying to get to. We haven't really tightened the vision up clearly enough. And then we just have 1,000 to-dos on our to-do list. And it can be hard to figure out which ones are the important ones for you to be doing. Because remember, strategy is all about saying no to the stuff you want to say yes to. And if you're like me, you probably had that experience of, I had a busy day, I've done 48 different tasks, but in my heart of heart, I know I haven't done the 4 essential tasks that would move my bigger picture strategy forward. So part of what this does is it creates discipline to say, what am I focusing on and how do I create a line of sight between the tactics to the vision. And this is what brings up the second point, is it creates what I would call a solid middle. And I tried to find all sorts of different pictures for this. I had a saggy bridge at one stage, but again, often we've got a vision and we've got tactics, and we don't have much in the middle linking that. And so I think the second reason is it's like core training in some ways. It's strengthening your stomach and your back muscles, which is what holds it all together. So you create that line of sight. So these are all connected, these three reasons, but first, a line of sight. Secondly, a strong middle. So it's not just where's the vision, but what are the strategies and the projects in between that, so that my tactics are really clear. And by creating that strong middle, you get to the third point, which is real clarity about what you want to say yes to. And therefore, if you're saying yes to that, what must you say no to, so that you can have real impact in all of this? So there we go. I think that's the critical things I wanted to share with you. If you want to make this webinar more useful for you, I'd encourage you now to be writing down what are your 2 critical takeaways, what you want to remember from this, and what's an action you want to take so that you actually do something differently as a result of listening to this short webinar with me. Now, just before we go, just a few quick things to remind you about. First of all, ask yourself who else needs to see this webinar. I'd really appreciate it if you spread the word, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Just send an email with a link to some of your mates. That would be fantastic. We certainly benefit from other people hearing about us and seeing some of the stuff that we bring to this world. Secondly, a reminder about this great report. I'd love you to do that. Pick it up right from the homepage of our website there. And again, a reminder about that LinkedIn group where there's a ton of tools and resources for people. And I think that's it. I mean, Box of Crayons, we're known for our practical coaching skills for the time crunch manager. We help busy managers coach in 10 minutes or less. And if you're interested in more of that, it's all there at the website. I'm Michael Bungay-Stanier. Good luck with your rapid fire strategic thinking, planning, and doing.